Hi all. Um, so I'm Michelle. I run Mentis Training and Consultancy, and we deal in mental health, first aid and workshops and workplace assessments, etc. So why am I telling you this, and why does it matter to you? Well, the most important thing is that mental health does not discriminate, and I hear day in, day out, well, it doesn't affect me, it's okay, oh, I'm strong enough to cope with it, nothing's bothered with me, or it'll never happen to me. Well, do you know what? We know it does happen to you, and it happens to those you love, and it happens to those around you in your community, in your workplace. We all know somebody, even if it's just by reading it in the news, that have resorted to taking their own life because they don't see another way out of a nightmare that they appear to be living in. We also know the people that are left behind from that, or the people that are supporting others who are dealing with mental illness in whatever severity or extremity that is. It could be someone who's having a short spell of depression, someone that has continued depression and lives with it day in, day out, somebody with bipolar, schizophrenia. You know, this can happen to anybody. People's assessments of somebody with a psychosis, or people's assumptions, I would say, are knife-wielding mad people who just go on a rampage and kill people. Well, that's not exactly the case. And if you look at what causes psychosis, yes, part of it is a mental illness, but others are other illnesses, physical illnesses that affect the conditions in the brain and the levels of dopamine, which can cause anybody, anytime, anywhere to have a psychotic episode. So don't dismiss it, don't stigmatise it. Let's look at what you can do to help other people. I see a lot of posts, and quite recently, you know, it was the person from Love Island who sadly took her own life, but then we learn a few days later that so did her boyfriend and so did two of his friends. Now, something drastic has happened there, and, you know, maybe there were signs that people could have seen. You have the lovely lady that was competing in or training to compete in the GB snowboarding, who on her 18th birthday decided to take her own life. Or were there signs? You know, was she stressed? Was there too much training? Was there too much pressure on her? Were there other things going on that people don't know about? We just don't know that. So, you know, there are things going on in people's lives that we don't know about. You can have people coming into work that are bringing all sorts in. Domestic violence, you know, people have been attacked, people are dealing with grief day in, day out. How do you manage these people? How can you support them? How can you look after them? Because do you know what? They're your workmates, and one day it could be you that needs the support. Not only in work, but outside of work as well. How do you look after people? How do you look after yourself? Do you know what to do if you start feeling over anxious to the point where you can't cope with everyday life, you can't think straight, you can't concentrate on the normal things that get you through? You know, you could have the capacity to deal with so many different jobs, but then suddenly one day it all gets too much, and somebody just asking you to remember to put the washing machine on just tips you over the edge. And it isn't about the washing machine, it's about everything else that you've buried inside your head. How do you know how much stress you can cope with? Some people are driven on stress and they love it, but other people, do you know what? If life events take over, your capacity to deal with things will be reduced. Now, wouldn't you want to be able to help yourself or help somebody else in order that they don't have to lose their life, or lose their home, lose their job, lose people they love? You know, even just the smallest of support, even just sat there listening to somebody and you know, being on receive all the time can just help in the smallest of ways. That can help so much, just to be able to go to someone and vent without judgment and without any, you know, risk of stigma or after effects. If I went into work and knew I was supported with my PTSD, and I was very lucky in that I was, but you know, I'm happier going into work knowing that I'm supported. And you know what, if I have a bad day, I have a bad day. Are other people that lucky? No, not everybody is, because you get employers that are very unsupportive. You get workmates who maybe take banter a little bit too far, and they think it's funny. You pretend it's funny, then you go home and you're in a worse situation you once were. So what can we do about it? Well, you know, you learn the skills to identify and support and steer people in the right direction. And it's not all about, oh, let's get you some help straight away, because we all know that depending on where you are and depending on the waiting list, help isn't readily available. So it's learning to cope with, handling your emotions and supporting somebody until such time that they can get the actual professional support that they need. So why not train to become a mental health first aider, or make sure that in your place of work you have some mental health first aiders, because they're the first line. And people, some people have maybe questioned the relevance of mental health first aid, but you've got to look at it in the same light as physical first aid. It's so important that we take this on board. So important. You don't, people like sort of every year, oh yeah, we've got these nominated first aiders, there's a picture on the wall, and they can help people, but you be guaranteed that mental health first aiders will probably be used a lot more. And to know that you've got them in the workplace is huge. So support your employers, take the well-being seriously, and well-being isn't just about once a year ticking a box like your manual handling, your risk assessments, your cost assessments, that sort of thing. You look after the mental health and well-being of your staff. So very important. And peer-to-peer support. Look after each other. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want to support their workmate if they saw that they were having trouble? I know I would, and I know I've been supported, but I've also had people walk away from me because they don't know how to support me. They don't know what to say to me. Well, actually, you don't have to say anything different, but as soon as you say I'm ill, then that's their view changed. You have people at work that I've been struggling on with whatever is going on with themselves. For weeks and weeks, I went through where I was struggling with PTSD, and I never told anybody. But as soon as the diagnosis was confirmed, everything changed. People's opinions changed. Yeah, I'd worked for weeks with it, but suddenly, because their opinions have changed, I can no longer do this, I can no longer do that. So, we've got to be a bit more realistic. Let's understand that, yes, some things may change. You may not be able to do part of a job anymore, or do you know what? You may be a little bit slower, but it doesn't stop you doing it. It doesn't stop you working, and it doesn't stop, you being the person you are, but receiving the support. So let's encourage each other. We've got quite a few courses going on. This course is around the whole country for mental health first aid, and I'm not saying book with me. Well, I am saying book with me, obviously. But there are courses available, so you don't have to travel forever to do this course. It's the standard fee, and it's been priced at £300 per person. However, there are deals in that, and we do consider concession fees for various agencies and organisations. So if you're interested in not just the mental health first aid courses, but if you're interested in supporting and knowing how to look after yourself, or maybe a family member or friend or somebody in your workplace, then get in touch. Mental health first aid can and has and is doing saving lives, and you could save yours or you could save someone else's. And actually, to be fair, sometimes you won't know that you have. Thanks.